Well, hello, everybody. And today we are on wine tasting session 47, and we are going back to Bordeaux. Now, just a little bit of history on Bordeaux. So let me give you let me show you a little something, give you a little visual. So a little bit of history of Bordeaux. So there's actually been evidence of wine production in this kind of Bordeaux area from about 4th century AD. And in the Middle Ages, the wine trade was mostly on the inland side of Bordeaux. And that boomed with England, of all places. And it became one of the more important foreign markets with them. But like the 100 Years' War kind of killed the industry here. But in the mid 1600s, there's some Dutch merchants that were looking to expand trade around here. And let me show you what the Bordeaux region looks like. And what these Dutch merchants did to kind of expand that trade was they drained a lot of the marshes and made land more suitable for viticulture. And that was most notably over here on the Medoc region. So, and that whole area before all this got drained was kind of like a barren salt marsh, and now is some of the best fields for wine grapes. Now, what really made Bordeaux, stand out? Well, in 1855, due to it's an exposition over in Paris, Emperor Napoleon at the time requested that a classification system for France's best Bordeaux wines needed to be made in order to show off to visitors. So was born the Bordeaux Wine Official Classification of 1855, which rated all of the chateaux or castles based on the quality and, weirdly, the marketplace or the market price at that time. And these are the kind of like numbered crus that you hear about, which is like Premier Cru, Deuxième Cru. So that means like first and second growth. And those are kind of like the titles that are kind of like placed on those. And those are pretty static. Grand Cru, which you'll see that at least two of our wines, or actually three of our wines, are classified as Grand Cru. And Grand Cru, on the other hand, is used by many different regions, including Burgundy, to call out various chateaus that make highly rated and sought after wines year after year. Now, a little bit about the terroir. So because of that, all these waterways that are coming in, what it does is the climate here is kind of like moderated, because I mean, just to the west of here is essentially the Atlantic Ocean. Now, what happens is there's a Gulf Stream current that brings up warm waters from the Caribbean and allows for some slight humidity and mild weather. And let me see if I can get my pen out. No. So right here, you see the Garonne River, which is this big guy right here. Now, what that does is that's the kind of feed in from the Atlantic, and sorry, and then down here in the middle, it kind of splits off. It splits off. It's still part of it's the Garonne, and the other part is the Dordogne. And this little place right in the middle is where those two kind of rivers meet, split, is the Entrée du Mer, which essentially means the beginning of two rivers. And let's go back here and show you a little bit about soil types. So the three types of soil types that are kind of known for this region are just like this like thick gravel. There's limestone, and then there's clay. And we'll get into each of those as we go through the wines. So now that I've kind of gone through at least a little bit of this, let's go ahead and pour our first wine, which is our 2015 Chateau Liberal Pauillac, or Pauillac. Depends on which part of France you
This is the equivalent of
are from. It's either Pauillac or Pauillac. So give that a bit of a pour. Now, what we're going to be this is one of the two wines that are from the left bank of Bordeaux. So over here on the Medoc side. Now let's get a little bit more into it. So here is just the left side. Now remember what I had mentioned about the Dutch draining those salt marshes? Well, what was underneath of that was a bunch of that gravel. So as you can see here, it kind of looks like that, just a lot of like big thick stones. And what that does is it allows for a lot more sorry. It allows for a lot more drainage. And what it really does is it kind of leads to the grapes struggling because they don't really have a lot of water. But that's really, that struggling is what's really makes a good Cabernet Sauvignon. And that flavor, or from like that, all those kind of shells and salt, influences those grapes because of that kind of leftover sediment. And there's just to the west of that area is a bunch of pine forests. And what that does is it will also protect from any cold gusts that come in from the Atlantic Ocean. Now, with really good Cab Sauv, and that's the majority of what you'll find in a left bank blend, there's also going to be some Merlot, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, and Carmenere. And those other ones, all those other ones that I listed, those can be in it, could not be in it. It's not like it has to have, all of those. It just has, it could just be 100% Cab Sauv. But usually those other ones kind of impart something that might be missing from the Cab Sauv. But it can only be those. It can only be the Merlot, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, Carmenere. And a fairly distinct aroma, and hopefully we'll, one of these will kind of have it. It's going to have a distinct aroma and kind of flavor profile for of these left bank Bordeaux is pencil shavings. So that because of that kind of minerality plus that cedar imparted from the oak is going to have, it's this odd combination that, well, depending on how old you are, may take you back to elementary school. So let's go ahead and give this thing a look. Giving it our 45 degree. Now, this is looking like medium almost into the dark ruby. It does have a bit. Actually, it has for its age, a 2015. It actually has a kind of a narrow rim variation comparatively to what I would think for an 8-year-old wine. So let's go ahead and give this thing a swirl and a sniff, and then tell me what you got on the nose.
Sure.
Now we're on you. Okay.
Lots of cedar.
Cedar. Okay.
I feel like I walked into an old attic with cobwebs and moisture and cedar.
So I'm definitely getting like black fruit, or just like more like black currant, and it almost smells like like canned black olives.
Hmm.
With yeah, there's a bit of like almost like a forest floor. I mean, considering I was just talking about pine trees, it has that like bit of tiny forest floor.
Hit the nail on the head.
I did say that earlier, didn't I?
Anyone else getting anything else on the nose? All right. Well, let's go ahead and give this thing a taste then. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Cool.
Prost.
Bottoms up.
Chin chin.
Yeah.
Very grippy.
Not as harsh and tangy as I was expecting. I was expecting more robust.
Yeah,
I was gonna go with. I mean, yeah, it's not as tannic, but this definitely has a lot more acid to it.
Yeah.
I think I get that black fruit in there too.
Yeah, there's definitely that black fruit. There's definitely black fruit.
Maybe a little pepper.
Yeah, I get that too.
You pepper? Okay.
Look at the blue cheese.
Yeah, I mean, it still has that kind of like tarry black olive note to it, but then I don't know, after a little bit it starts to soften and it turns more into tea.
Oh, I do like the blue cheese.
But I don't really get I'm not getting the graphite. So it's just more, oaky cedary than like actual pencil shavings.
Manchego too. Yeah. Manchego helps make this a little sweeter. Yeah.
Pass some of the Manchego, please.
Oh,
Thank you.
so yeah. So let's try to pair this with some stuff and see what all of a sudden pops.
Thank you.
It's really good with blue cheese and lamb.
And Manchego.
It's really good on its own. This is really good wine.
I do enjoy it on its own also.
Blue cheese.
I can do it. Take a picture.
I can definitely see that being preparing.
A burger mixed with truffle oil.
And on the lamb and the
Excellent.
That sounds yummy. The mushrooms in there would be like nice. And the flavor too.
Okay.
I turned off the volume on my phone. I was just gonna set it on the seat of the chair over here. There's
Yeah.
a cat, but like,
Remember, you can pet twice,
Right.
not a third.
Then you'll get a little nibble.
But like on the side of the tablecloth.
So
So I like went to move the tablecloth and it was like it didn't move.
I was actually hoping that having some like red sauce for like pasta would really kind of bring out.
So these little
But
roasted.
there is no red note in this whatsoever.
Does it clash? Does it taste kind of acidy?
Yeah, it's like acid and bitter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
hate when that happens. Like, oh, this is the worst pairing ever.
good. Right. I
So-
enjoy
We're
that.
getting like a very similar thing with like steak too.
Kurt likes a lot.
Oh yeah, really? The acidity?
I actually think trying one of these olives, out of everything I tasted one of the olives first.
Yeah,
See.
I would think that an olive would go well just because of that salt. because this it has like a higher acidity to it, that salt would kind of tamp it down. But no, I mean this is just an enjoyable, I wouldn't
The potatoes.
I wouldn't quite say it's overly complex, but this is, it's not a one-trick pony. I mean, there is quite a few notes going on in here.
White wine I kind of like better than the potato with the red
Yeah.
for some reason.
I did like it with white wine too. So it.
Hmm.
The lamb, I made a herb garlic butter. And then put the lamb on top of the potatoes.
Yep.
And it was thyme, rosemary, oregano, salt and pepper.
So I also picked up a really odd cheese from Costco called Green Thunder, which apparently is an English cheddar that has garlic and like green herbs in it. And that, like, it's actually bringing out some green notes in, this Cabernet, or, well, just that Cabernet portion of it.
It's actually really good with this. It's just the spice and the bodiness and everything.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason for those kind of, like, if you do get some green notes, especially how you can kind of tell that you're drinking somewhere between, like a Cabernet Franc, is because, well, as you can kind of see here from this is kind of like the
A splash of
genetic parentage of everything, which all of it kind of comes from Cabernet Franc. And Cab Franc is really notorious for that, where if it's grown somewhere cold and harvested early, it has a lot of like green bell pepper notes, and that's from the pyrazines that if it actually matures completely and fully, or it's like really warm weather, it won't. But as you can kind of see there from its family tree, that Carmenere, Cab Sauv, and even Merlot, all of those have parentage in Cab Franc, and will also kind of display a bit of those same characteristics when done in a somewhat colder climate. And I mean, so as you when you're just looking at the map of France and you look at like Bordeaux, you're like, oh, it's towards the southern part of France. But you also have to realize that France is pretty far north, and Bordeaux is on the 45th parallel. So it's right up there on like the Canadian border.
A lot warmer than Canada.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of tempered again by that warm Gulf Stream that's coming from the Caribbean on the Atlantic side, but yeah, it's still going to be some pretty cold.
I would suspect.
What? All right. Are we ready for our second?
Yes.
All right. So our second is going to be the Clos Labarde Saint Emilion Grand Cru. So this is a 2017. Now this is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay. Easy. Yeah. Are you testing?
Now this is from the Saint Emilion region. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you to kind of see it in. So, as you kind of see there,
stuff that's supposed to go on this.
so we have the right bank now. It's Saint Emilion. Well, actually, the right bank is made up of two parts, or two major parts. There's Saint Emilion, and then there's also Pomerol.
I'm gonna try it on my
What
bread.
is?
It's a
Now Saint Emilion, what you actually get there for soil. So let me pull up. Keep having to switch between them. So Saint Emilion is going to be more limestone, and so it's going to give out a little bit more of that kind of calcium slatish piece, just like, much more to, the south. Now Pomerol is this kind of clay. And what it has is, the reason why looks a little red is that has like an iron pan under the sand. Iron pan meaning that sand and clay have mixed with some iron oxides. And now both of these places, both Pomerol and Saint Emilion mainly focus on Merlot. But do check which place your right bank came from, since Saint Emilion really has that limestone. And so you're gonna get like the wet stone taste from it, while Pomerol, if you actually find one from there, there are plenty of both, are going to be influenced by that iron pan and going to have a touch of what's called the sang, or blood. And in its flavor profile, that will actually kind of come off tasting kind of like coffee. Now, what's kind of neat about Pomerol is that it does actually, because that clay, it holds water, which is actually great, because back in 2018, where it kind of rained really heavy in February, and people were worried that it's going to be a terrible year for harvest because it got a whole bunch of rain. But then all of a sudden, it just got really hot and no rain for like 4 or 5 months, and that area, because of that water retention, actually kind of saved the grapes. And if you actually find a 2018 Pomerol, it's turning out to be one of their best years. And usually the second main grape that's blended into these particular wines is going to be Cab Sauv. There's usually like sometimes it's just a half, but it should be like mainly Merlot, with Cab Franc as kind of the secondary. So let's go ahead and give this thing a look. And this, so this while our last one, and it may have been just because it was a 2015 versus a 2017, but this is still in that kind of, this is definitely into the deep ruby.
Yep.
And again, there's just a thin band for the rim variation. It's got like a little bit of like a pinkish, but it is not aged all that much. So let's go ahead and give it a swirl and a sniff.
So watch it.
Now, how different is that from our last wine, with a distance of maybe what, 80-100 miles?
More like 1,000.
What?
So I'm getting that calcium a lot, like a mineral. Like
Really? I get a lot of red fruit
I
and
was
like
gonna say
baking
berry.
spice. Like
Nutmeg
red
and
fruit.
vanilla.
yeah.
Like I'm definitely getting cherry and almost like blueberry.
We have blueberries.
I would say jammy. I mean, we have a different bottle, but a little jammy.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Which this is kind of weird, because that's the first things I'm picking out is fruit, instead of it being instead of being able to almost like hop between fruit and like earth. This is definitely kind
Are
of,
you expecting this to be more like a Paso Robles, like having some of that earthy minerally?
She got it.
a little bit, but it's still muted. I would almost put this more at like an Oregonian or Washington,
Plus, I remember. So.
Literally falling apart.
because it's still it isn't like
No.
it doesn't smell like baked fruit. It smells fresh.
She's so fresh.
Ours is pretty young too. Ours is a 20.
Yeah, we have a 2020, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Salad.
so I'm almost getting a little bit of like earth and
Sure.
like wood
Yeah.
or cedar or something. Yeah.
Well, let's see how our palates take it and it matches our nose.
Then
Yeah,
strawberry.
we're gonna change
Sure.
things. So,
Do you like this smell is fruit forward?
Yes.
I'm
getting a lot, yeah, what are you getting?
I get more like,
Interesting finish, like it drops off, but then there's a little bit of lingerie. At least that's what we're getting.
So it's got a front and like a long tail, but the middle's kind of missing.
Yeah, agreed. That's exactly what I would say.
I think it's smooth. It's really smooth.
yeah. Right.
in the same one we are, Kurt.
I think so.
I get kind of like an acidic bite, is that what you mean?
One second.
Yeah.
I don't like what the blueberry did.
Oh, I bet it does.
Definitely olive is there.
I think it's more red fruit, like I think like that strawberry or cherry.
Strawberry.
You mean strawberry?
Well, I had it with it.
Oh. Oh,
So what are people getting on the palate here? Because for me, like I'm definitely getting that blue note, like it's blueberries first.
I don't know. I thought red first.
Yeah, we got red first.
we have some blueberries and I think for me, it really works, but for Sarah, I think it's not working.
We're like, even here at this table, we're drinking 3 different wines.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Or you're detecting 3 different wines from a single
Okay.
wine.
It seems so.
Different preferences.
Yeah.
The truck takes over.
I think that the olive is like an earthy mushroom, and it makes it like this is still a little big jammy kind of wine from the peel.
Good with
Does
potato.
the olive help it or hurt it?
I think it makes it more jammy.
Really? They get more food.
Yeah, see, to me, this definitely has a little bit more of that kind of like sleety earth and maybe even like a little bit of like black peppercorn.
Potatoes, but
Now, because it's Merlot, I mean, this is definitely a much more beef friendly wine. I mean, Cab Sauv is also pretty meat friendly, but it also has some characteristics that pair with things that have garlic or herbs or things like that. Merlot,
really well with the lamb, please.
We're gonna start with the alligator.
Merlot is definitely just
Really
like
good with-
like steak and burgers.
It's really good with the beef bourguignon.
I
Yeah.
can confirm the steak as well.
Red meat, red meat.
Was it with lamb though?
Very good.
Wow.
With the garlic herb. Crusted lamb.
And cabbage red meat.
So we also have some truffle cheese, and the truffle cheese takes over and you can't taste the wine at all. The herby goat cheese, it kind of goes with.
Has both.
Well, yeah,
It's got ham and bacon.
it's a hybrid.
That's kind of interesting that the truffle took over.
Remember the
You
campaign?
can't taste the wine at all. So it'll be interesting to see with the next one, whether it goes better.
Yeah.
As you. I do. Just reaching. We need butter. We need butter for it.
I think that's perfect. In either the potato juice or the
Now maybe it's just because we finally went out of the $20 price point, that this is probably one of the first right banks that I really enjoy.
And Richard, why don't you usually, what's the characteristics that make you not really enjoy it usually?
Well, I'm
But
it doesn't
I'm-
matter where it's grown. I've just never been a Merlot fan.
Salty crackers.
Yeah, just because it's kind of velvety. It doesn't really have a lot of acid characteristics. It pretty much just has like black and blue fruit
The salty dark.
notes to it,
milk.
and almost nothing else.
No, I think the
And
potato.
then there's like
That's what
regular.
I said,
dark.
the potato and the cracker.
And Richard, I'm the same way. I don't like Merlots at all.
Gonna try this
Well,
out.
what's interesting is it goes so well with the beef, but I also put like Merlot in the beef. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to see if it goes so well with the next wine, because it's kind of like, it wasn't the same wine, it was another Merlot.
Finish off the sideboard.
It's not bad, it's just not.
Because I figure I don't really love the Merlot, I might as well put it in the stew.
So we'll sit and eat s'mores while eating with it. Pass it on. Okay.
Peter, did you like this one?
Yes.
What? Are you talking to me?
Yes. Did you like this one?
I did like that one. I thought it was really smooth, but just so I have something to eat because you guys are all eating, I went and got some hickory smoked bourbon Gouda cheese. So I'll
very
try that with the next.
Awesome.
You had me at bourbon.
The special sauce.
The pretzel was a McDonald's French fry, but not the Wendy's French fries.
It's also good with the blue cheese.
Mhm.
It's really balanced.
Yeah, very.
Make sure to save some of your blue cheese for the Sauternes.
For sure.
You
Once
have
you
more
get
blue
to-
cheese,
to
don't
get-
worry.
Eat all you want. We got more.
We've got two containers.
All right,
Oh, one
how's everyone's glasses looking?
empty.
Almost empty.
Empty.
All right,
A little bit like. My race.
Yeah, it's just
So,
like-
let's move on to our third wine, which is our 2017 Chateau Prieure Lichine. And this is from the Margaux region. Now, the Margaux region,
Should have been a machine?
This is the one we drank first.
No. Oh, okay.
as you can see here, so before
Oh, and it was the Margaux.
we were up in the Pauillac region, so up here, and now we traveled a little bit farther south, and now we're down here in the Margaux. So, all that is that's more sediment and whatnot that's carried along. So hoping to see some like different characteristics here. It's still going to be left bank, heavy cab. But at the same time, hopefully it's going to be a little bit warmer, a little bit more flavorful. Plus it's a 2017 instead of a 2015. So hopefully a little bit more fruit forward.
I'm wondering,
And we have a 2019, but the same wine.
Okay.
And you said the temperature of that region's warmer?
Well, I mean, because it's a little bit further inland,
Yeah.
that it's going to, again, warm up a little bit more. So go ahead and give it our look. And it's almost seemed like all of our Bordeaux are here at the dark ruby range. This one's I'll say it's actually a little bit lighter than our right bank, but not by much. And it actually has even less of a rim variation than our Saint Emilion.
Yeah, this is about the same as our last glass. It's interesting.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and give it a swirl. And this is what I was looking for in a left bank Bordeaux.
So I get some tobacco.
There's definitely some like tobacco leather. Yeah.
A little bit of spice too.
Yeah. There's baking spices in there.
This is the only one I've seen that has legs. Remember how you said to look for legs, and I'm looking, okay, this one seriously has legs.
Okay.
Excellent.
Feels like it's got the legs from, I can tell it's because of the interaction with the last one.
Now, are you, here's the question. Are you getting the pencil shavings? And maybe a little bit of like a green note. Yeah, like graphite and like a little bit of a green note.
The green note, yeah.
Only if I make my imagination very vivid.
Drink more wine. Drink more wine, you get more vivid imagination.
You actually have to eat pencil shavings. That's the key.
No, I think you're just a little too young to ever have used a pencil sharpener in school.
Yeah, but when you sharpened your pencil, if you inhaled it, you actually tasted it because you did. There was a little bit of stuff in the air.
So any other notes on the nose? Like for me, this has almost like all black fruits, like plum and blackberry.
Yeah, it does have really different fruit note.
Yeah, and then yeah, so along with that kind of like graphite and green and baking spices, yeah, I think we've kind of covered at least everything that I'm detecting in it. So let's give it a taste. Cheers.
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 A much bigger mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that like savoriness.
It also tastes to me like Cab Franc. I can taste actually the Cab Franc in this, or just it has that note. Whether at the beginning, like a little bit of olivey, but I'm tasting the Cab Franc.
There's like a little like sweet note to it, like a hint of vanilla.
That is very possible.
Mm-hmm. Like at the end, Corey, that's where I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this. But again, it's
fruit and then licorice in it.
Damien's tasting licorice, Team Foodie.
Katrina, is this the different one that you got, or is this the same one, Richard?
Same one, but it's 2019 rather than 2017.
Okay. Okay.
The last one was different.
Okay.
What's everyone else's opinion on this? I think I mostly have a favorite of the night already. Oh, but Katrina, I'll be curious if what was it that you were wanting to try again with another of the left bank?
The truffle cheese. And it's much better. Yeah, I just had a bite. It's balanced. I can taste both. The other one, there was just none of the wine.
Okay.
It's like I call it the amazing disappearing wine trick, where it's just like, oh, I just drank nothing. I don't know what it was. So it's like, it has sharp sugar. Give me a little bit more.
I like this one better than the other two.
I decided if I look at the apricot or the cranberry.
Now, as a little bit of a, I'll say a cheat sheet. But, so one of the things about French wine is that almost all of it's going to be aged in some type of, either first run or a used French oak. And as you can kind of see here, these are the notes that really kind of get applied to that wine. And so usually if you know that, you can sort of start to keep that in your head for things to pick out, in terms of all of these reds. Which will also kind of give us an idea of, like, well, as we had kind of said, that we were in that kind of like cedarish range and a little bit of that baking spice. And so, again, that would make that, we would kind of conclude that, well, this is from French oak, so it's going to be more of a medium toast.
With the beef bourguignon, it brings out the fruit, actually.
More like a black currant cassis.
Yeah, you just get more fruit with the truffle. It kind of was equal to kind of what I think the wine tastes like on its own.
Okay.
It paired with the goat cheese pretty well too. It had the herbs are good.
What type of herbs did you have on your goat cheese?
I think they have it has garlic, but then it also has, I think, some parsley. And that's whatever they had in the grocery store.
Most basil.
Yeah, basil, I agree. Something like that. But I don't think it's
Oh, that green thunder that I thought went well with the right bank. Oh no. Oh, with this left bank. Oh, all those hidden green notes just pop. Oh, this is delicious.
They're not a big red wine, but none of these have been really expensive to me. I mean, I can drink them all again.
Okay. Washed out
with what?
with cheese.
Yeah, right. I'm going to get some blue cheese.
A little bit.
So we've tried pairing it with pepper jack, and it like completely pulls forward the green notes and like the heat of the pepper.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so neat. That again, we could like barely detect green. Yeah, it wasn't like a heavy green note, but again, once you start to, once you have that same flavor on both the wine and the food side, it's like bam. Yeah, take it to Flavor Town.
That's awesome.
I agree on the blue cheese. I really don't. They're really
All
solid. The second one was the best.
All right, so we will move on to our final wine of the night.
Oh.
And this time
Yeah,
we're still in Bordeaux, but much farther south, still on the left bank, but in a place called Gros. Now, our wine is the Chateau Doisy-Vedrines, and this is a 2018 Sauternes. And what kind of makes it a little bit different than a lot of other wines is because it has something called the noble rock, or botrytis. Now, what is that? Well, it's this kind of like grayish mold that kind of inhabits, or kind of sets on these grapes, and it's not great, but because there's just enough like moisture, humidity in the air to kind of keep it going, it kind of sets on here. But what it'll do is it essentially leaches out all of the moisture from those grapes, leaving behind essentially like grape syrup.
It's weird looking.
Wine without freezing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Same idea.
And so, well, I mean, because ice wine, yeah, well, those, I think that ice wine's more of like a late harvest, because the reason why it's called ice wine is they essentially don't harvest it until, the first frost happens on the grapes. The botrytis, it just essentially leaches out all that water. So all you're left with is essentially sugar, and that's what gets fermented. But because of the yeast that's used, effectively, different yeasts will die out. Essentially, they kill themselves after a certain amount of time, especially for like a weaker yeast. The more that they consume the sugar and produce alcohol, that's essentially a toxin to them. And after a certain amount of alcohol, they all just die off. And that's effectively what happens with Sauternes is, the sugar level is just out of this world. So the yeast just keeps consuming it. But at some point, it gets up to, the point that most of the wine gets up to, which is about 12 to, 14%. And then the yeast is just like, we can't live in this anymore, and stops. But there's still a whole bunch of sugar still around. So you essentially get a wine that is just, kind of naturally sweet, even though it's got also a really high alcohol content. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And I'm getting kind of like a pale golden. Now, depending on, if you actually rinsed your glass out before you poured, it might look a little bit more salmon. But no, we'll just go with pale golden. Yeah. There are some out there that as they age a little bit, or if there was like a really, like great year for sugar production, it'll actually get much more in that golden area, but pale gold is still pretty good. So, let's give it a swirl and a sniff. And what do you get on the nose here? Because that's the thing I love about Sauternes. It's honey.
Honey, so much floral.
Okay.
Sweet apples. It's a golden delicious thing, that's some sweet stuff.
And any tropical notes? I mean, me, I'm getting much more in the apricot and pear.
Yeah.
Is mango a bad smell here?
No, that's in that kind of like tropical realm.
Yeah.
Pineapple.
So we shouldn't be getting any like apple or citrus, but yeah, I mean, in the kind of like stone fruit, honey, pear, all of those are usually typical for a Sauternes. Maybe almost like a little bit of like beeswax and ginger.
So be careful.
Oh,
And one of the things that, I mean, well, even though yes, they're supposed to be kind of cleaned off, but that a little bit of that botrytis kind of sticks around, and there's always the chance that the wine is going to also have a little bit of almost like an earthy mushroom note to it.
I'm done now.
Sit down. Fire.
Don't need a torch while I put down.
So let's go ahead and give this thing a taste. Cheers.
Cheers.
yours.
I get an almost medicine-y taste.
Medicinal.
Yeah. Right? Like I'm not smell. Not taste them.
That's totally.
It tastes like mead.
So that's the honey. Yeah, the mead.
I'm
getting a lot of like apricot. Like,
I was gonna say it tastes like fruit cocktail syrup.
I'm with Corey. It tastes like mead.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Exactly.
Like a wildflower taste to it too.
Yeah.
definitely. Like hibiscus, kind of like the.
They just said hibiscus over a Team Foodie, which I agree.
Don't even go for the goat cheese or.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like this, like with some type of like creamy cheese.
What are you making you meat? Corn?
So I went to the grain store to make beer, and it was just like.
Really?
This is kind of like when medicine wants to replicate the orange taste.
So you say it's like a fake orange?
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
Like a cough syrup orange.
Yeah.
Blueberry being in front of you.
See that?
Actually, this was really good with the Gouda cheese.
Ooh, this is delicious.
Oh, yeah. I have some Gorgonzola blue, and that is excellent.
Yes.
Everybody's turn.
What was our blue? I don't know. You try a little more.
This is pretty good.
Like get it like really coating your tongue, and for some reason it kind of like mutes the sweetness, and all of a sudden just kind of really brings out a lot more than just the fruit. Oh yeah, forgot about I've also got some macarons.
Wow, the macaron is the thing that I need to
That
make. So
creme
Yeah, the cheese doesn't make it as sweet.
brulee. That's pretty decent. Creme brulee.
Yeah, I agree. The coating the tongue is interesting. You see what it's like with the apple.
Really good.
Yeah, Sauternes is probably it is definitely my, as much as I really like port, Sauternes is kind of my dessert of choice.
No.
Oh, wow.
With the tart tatin, it brings out the caramel. It really brings out the richness of kind of the caramelization. It's interesting.
Yum.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what it's going to pull out of it, and that's why I'd suspected that, because it's apple, that the apple wasn't going to really do much, but that caramel actually, that
But the
just the sugar.
caramel is really, I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Amy also said it's pretty good with the truffle cheese.
Okay, which also kind of makes sense. Well, here's the question: does it actually kind of bring out that kind of like earthy mushroom?
It's actually pretty good with pepper jack as well.
Contrasts it really well. It makes it even sweeter.
Huh?
Like sweeter and like even better honey.
But I do taste a little more of the mushroom.
That second bottle.
Really, like
That's very good with the creme brulee too.
But like, with the apricot.
Well, just on that note, I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can socialize at will. So, see y'all.